Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. Along with REM, Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. You can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mindshare to get more market share. Plus, learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 308. He is a full-service real estate broker specializing in residential real estate home resale homes, investment acquisitions, and luxury home sales across the GTA. He and his team have become renowned as the merchants of choice for many of the Greater Toronto Area's most valuable and luxurious properties. In keeping with his extraordinary reputation, he has become a recognized leader in the distinctive real estate market north of Toronto, specializing in Vaughan, Thornhill, Richmond Hill, and of course, Toronto. He proudly holds the position of broker owner and managing partner of Forest Hill Real Estate Vaughan. Proud to boast a powerful reputation built on honesty, integrity, and repeatedly achieving great results for his valued clients. He differentiates himself by providing personalized service and treating each individual property sale as its own unique project, rather than providing a cookie-cutter approach to marketing your home. Toronto's most sophisticated sellers and buyers have chosen him to represent them because of his renowned reputation, customized and creative marketing plans, and strong connections within the real estate industry. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare Podcast is real estate broker Michael Switzer. Now, as Michael is just joining back on, he is having some technical difficulties. And you know, this is the thing about going live when you do go live with people. And whether it's by yourself, whether it's with somebody else, technology can always be a pain in the ass, which I can tell for Michael is happening right now. All that being said, what that typically does, though, is that stops a lot of people from wanting to go live and stops a lot of people from even putting themselves out there because they're worried about what might happen and how do I roll with the punches. And well, the reality is we're rolling with the punches right now. You see, we're supposed to be having a guest on, but again, because of the technical stuff, he's having trouble getting on. Now, what is the learning here? Well, you could say, hey, the learning is, you prep a little bit ahead of time, which was done. But the reality is you can't control the technology that's out there. And every once in a while, I know for myself, I could be online and I'm doing what I'm doing. And next thing you know, all of a sudden it's like, the internet just stops working. And next thing you know, you get bumped off of a meeting. These things happen. It's all good. You roll with it. But I can tell Michael's back. So, Michael, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast. Oh, he's gone again. See? Beauty of going live. Beauty going live. But look, our topic today, as we wait for Mike to join back in, our topic's to get inside the mind of a top producing real estate broker. Now, as we've just obviously read off Michael's bio, he's been doing this a long time. In fact, for many people don't know, him and I have been buddies for many, 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 many years. It seems like a lifetime, which it really is. We know each other well, but I've watched this guy grow up in the industry. I've watched him, really take over and dominate the industry. Doing some great stuff out there. We want to pick his brain on that. So, Mike, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, my man. I can hear you.
I like keeping you on your toes there with the internet. I did that on purpose just to see how long you can go.
Yeah, but notice how we didn't get rattled.
I didn't notice anything. I was totally logged out. But I just imagined you just dancing, which was fun for me in a certain way.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, dude. Knowing you probably did do it on purpose too.
I didn't. I would never do such a thing to you. But thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. It's great to have you here, bro. It's very, very, very good to have you. I was just sharing to people how long it's been a lifetime we've known each other. We watch each other literally like grow as like kids, but then obviously grow professionally. And dude, it is awesome to see the success you're having out there. It really is.
Oh, right back at you. Thank you.
For sure, bro. So listen, for anybody that doesn't know you, doesn't know of you, I know, I read off your bio, explained like sort of where you specialize and kind of the things that you bring to the table. What I'm curious to know is, if we go back in time, am I right? Like you've been selling for almost 18 years now?
Longer. Yeah. I think I've been selling for 21 or 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And I think I've actually been a client of Kit's the entire time, which I'm proud to say.
Well, we appreciate you, and you see all the successes he's had. Mike, this has been a great show today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, take care. That was easy, man.
No, I appreciate that, bro. Seriously. It's funny. I remember too when you first got in the biz, or like I guess it almost felt like you first got in the biz, and we don't need to mention like names and brands and whatever, but you're at a conference and you're like a day in the business, and all of a sudden you like put your hat in a jar or something, or your name in a hat, and
I want
end
a
up winning
Harley.
a Harley Davidson.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I wasn't just putting a name in a hat. It's actually a good story for people to take a look at things rather than just, basically they called us up on stage and they said, whoever picks the key out of this bag wins the Harley. And there was like 5 people in front of me and every one of them went up like this and they didn't look. And I walked up and I looked right in the bag and all I saw was a big fat Harley key. And I was like, oh, I just reached in and picked it. Remember everyone was booing me? But
dude, you know what? I didn't realize that part of it.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. Well, hey, listen, you know what? Look, it's funny too that you bring that up because I often talk about, and I coined the term unfair advantage, but I look at it as actually a totally fair and legit advantage. When you take advantage of a situation that other people didn't take it, that's not our problem that they didn't take advantage.
No one said I couldn't look in the bag.
Done.
You know what I mean? So that's exactly what I said to the people, and it was literally the first day that I joined that new brokerage and I went to their convention. So a lot of the people that were up on the stage, they were interviewing them like, I've been with this company for 20 years. I've been with the company. I'm like, yeah, it's my first day.
So it truly was too. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
So listen, as we go back to that though, I want to go back all the way back there and say, do you remember your first deal? And do you remember what you did to get it? Can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. And it's something that I'm still doing right now. And I went door knocking. And when I first started, I had a great manager who sent me out onto the streets and basically just said, like, you could talk, kid, get out there. And I went out and I just started talking to people. And, now 20 plus years into the business, especially coming off the couple of years that we've had, it's right back to it. It's right back. And that's what we're training with our agents all the time as well. It's like when things start to go down and things start to slow down, the only thing you can do is get back to the basics and get back to the real foundations of what helped you create a business in the first place. And it doesn't matter if you're 5 minutes in the business or 20 years in the business or 30 years in the business, like those same foundations always come back around again.
Dude, I love that. I want to dive into that with you deeper as we sort of progress through this, because what I wanted to ask you here was like, from an organizational perspective, are you an organized person? How do you manage your days, to ensure that you do get everything you need to get done? Because I know you're dealing with a lot of different properties. You got the family at home. You're involved in like extracurricular stuff outside of work. You run an office. Like you got a lot going on. How are you managing it all in a day, like from an organization perspective?
Well, if I can be completely honest, like the last couple of years, I first answer is like a lot of hard work and a lot of effort and a lot of time. But what I've started to feel in the last couple of years, where I felt like I was kind of slipping a bit, and as you know me on a personal level as well, not just like work wise, but like just even like exercise wise, shape wise, I was getting out of shape. I was feeling like crap. And over the last, I would say year, I've really been focused on just the simplicity of discipline. And I can't say enough how much better I feel since I've really been living a much more disciplined life. There's nothing that can replace discipline. And I've really been focused on, eating right, living right, working right, being present with my family, being present with my life, being present with myself, being much more present with my clientele and my past clientele. That's really, if you're asking me on the work tip, like that's really the biggest thing. And the hardest challenge that I think for producing agents as you go through the years is, and that's where Kits comes in as well. It's really just keeping in touch. And it really comes down to, once you get to a stage where you have hundreds and thousands of clients, it's a full-time gig to keep in touch with these people. And I think about it all the time, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't spoken to this guy, I haven't spoken to that guy. And I want to be more involved in that. Coming back to the discipline, that's where I've been really focusing my attention more so than, not necessarily just like what's next in front of me to go make the next deal, but really making sure to reconnect and to speak with the people who have helped me get here, and showing them my appreciation, and by just being there for them and still having that relationship with them, like what a concept, a real relationship, not just like
totally, man. And it's so big that you bring that up, because you're right. knowing you on a personal level, I know when you are disciplined towards the workouts and the eating and everything.
Yeah,
Again, we play hockey together, everything else. Like you can see the difference. Like, and I know for myself as well, locking into that, it sets the mind right. It sets everything else about the day right. It sets the family right. And then when you do fall off for a little bit, you can feel it. Like it
for
takes a
sure.
toll on the mind. It takes a toll on the body. And it like I talk about this all the time, right? Like you need to be feeding your brain. You need to be really focused on you. Jennifer and I, the other day, we went to the Thermia Spa in Whitby.
Nice.
Dude, we spent the whole day. We got there for 10 o'clock in the morning. We didn't leave there till like 6:30 at night. Then we went out for dinner. And like it was just the two of us. And I had my phone in the locker the entire time. I didn't even look at my phone. And I
Nice.
sat there at one point. We were like sitting in the hot tub, and I made a comment of like, and you ruminate, right? Like you think about what you do have and what else you want and what you're working towards. And I made a comment on something. She's like, do you know how many people and it wasn't a negative comment by any means, but she goes, do you know how many people in the world would be looking at what we're able to do right now and just say, like, I wish I could have that?
A lot.
And
Yes.
and I'm not sitting here saying, look at me. Moreover, we took a lot of time to schedule the time to actually get there on Monday to be able to sit there and like disconnect and just be the two of us. Which, when you run a family, run a business, you don't have that kind of time.
Well, it's also about being present. Is also, like that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
we get one life to live, and we're all so
Yeah,
wrapped
man.
up in everything all the time, and especially in this industry, in the real estate industry, like what we see all day is noise. What we hear all day is noise. No, oh, I got to do this. I have to be more on social media, or I have to be more, like there's we're being pulled in a million different directions. And if for any of my agents that are listening to this, they'll all say, like, this is something I talk about a lot. It's like simplifying things, like just simplify and turn off the noise and just look at what's right in front of you, and really put the blinders on your business and put the blinders on your life of, like, social media in particular. Like, what that has created is jealousy. It's created envy. It's created all these like really bad things that don't help us in any way. They actually spiral us in a lot of the case. And I've gone through that so many times. You're always counting somebody else's pocket. They're counting their dollars, seeing what they're selling. Oh my God, this guy's this guy's that. They're selling more than me. And you get into this position where you're like controlled by devils instead of controlled by like what actually is beneficial for you. And you put those blinders on. You don't need to be worrying about the other horses in the race. Just worry about your own race. And that's exactly why they wear those blinders. They shouldn't see the other horses.
Yep.
And I actually stole that line from the Dr. J documentary, but it's the best line ever. It's like,
It's true though. No, it makes a lot of sense. 100%.
Jimmy Iovine, he says it. He's like, that's why I don't care about the other horses. I just run my own race.
Dude,
And
it's so true. And again, for everybody tuned in, again, I got top producer and real estate broker Michael Switzer on the show right now, and we're getting inside his head, right? And we've titled the show "The Inside the Mind of a Top Producer and Broker." I know the type of business you do, Mike. I've watched the growth, and you know me, okay? And I would say the same thing. It's like you go backwards in time, and I sit there and like we know each other from back in the day, and I sit there every once in a while, like today, right now, and I ask myself sometimes, I'm like, man. And again, this to everybody tuned in. This is what you call complete transparency right now. So if you're ever shy or scared about putting yourself out there, you just got to do it, right? But
for
I've
sure.
questioned so many times, Mikey. I'm like, man, am I doing it the right way? Am I too rough around the edge for some people? Do I like spit it way too real for some people? Am I too blunt? Is it too harsh? And then you start ruminating, like you just said. You watch what other people are doing. What are they thinking? I don't know. And then you got to put those blinders on. And you got to take a moment to go, wait a second. We've come this far, being exactly who we are, doing exactly what we do. And it doesn't mean we haven't learned. It doesn't mean we haven't gotten better. We've definitely looked for improvement. Much the same, though, by being who we are and having those blinders on, this is how we got here today. So stay focused on what those things are, right? It's truly, truly important to stay focused on that stuff. So now I want to ask you this too. Do you feel that it's possible to operate to a schedule in this business?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's imperative that you operate to a schedule in this business. And,
Love that.
one of the things and one of the biggest failure, one of the biggest things that creates failure in this business, and one of the things that they lack in teaching us when you go to, for Oria, for me, or for Humber, for any new agents, is they don't actually teach you what the actual day-to-day running of the business is. They teach you how to not screw things up on paperwork. They teach you how to, do the essentials of running the actual, deals and transactions, but they don't teach you anything about what actually is necessary to have a successful business. The biggest thing that is lacking in this business is a schedule. The biggest thing is lacking in this business is actual direction. And, for people to be able to come into this business, that's why there's such a high failure rate. Because what ends up happening is a lot of these people coming in, they're like, oh, I love real estate. I want to make my own hours. And then they end up making them their own hours. And the problem is that their own hours are 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day. And it's like, you have to address this business the same way if you were opening up a tech company, or if you're opening up a bakery. If you're opening up a bakery and you're running it for 2 hours a day, are you going to be successful, or are you going under? Right? So I think for the people that are coming in and, when they're being trained in the right way, which I'm so proud to say, I feel like we're doing at our office at Forsto Legacy. Like, we're really, and coming back to what you just said before about, are you being too, yourself with this thing? Absolutely not. I think that's exactly what attracts people to guys like you and to guys like me. It's like that, like, transparency is real. And like, if you don't like me, then, okay, I'm sorry. That's, I actually don't, I didn't want to say, so what? I don't like that, the idea of it, but I would go out of my way to try to, find out the reasoning why. But for the most part, I think that people are actually attracted to somebody who's keeping it real, and somebody who's not sugarcoating life. Life isn't sugarcoated. Life is real. And especially the real estate business. If you want sugarcoating, you want handholding in real estate, like, it's not going to work very well for you. You have to be a self-starter, and you have to have thick skin. And a lot of that stuff is developed from going through the many no's and the many kicks to the head that you take, in the first couple of years and moving forward. Like you said, I'm 20 years in. I've had 5 kicks to the head this week.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it is what it is. You gotta just keep on moving. You gotta keep on being positive. And, it all comes back again to what I was saying before about being disciplined. Yeah. Like I that's my new word, man. I haven't had it in my life as much as I should have over the last 2 decades. And
it's funny because I look at some of the things you've done. Okay. And I'll tell you, like, outside, like, first of all, from a business perspective, I've watched you as a friend grow. And I've said, like, this kid, I've known you since we were kids, right? But this guy's doing it right. He's doing something right. I've also watched, and seriously speaking, bro, when you were doing through the martial arts and the weightlifting, watched you actually be disciplined and would sit there outside taking note. Okay, Mikey, what's going on for food? Tell me about this. And you would send all this stuff to, dude, we all measure ourselves in certain ways and think, are we not doing? The beauty is, it's like when you question it, it's actually that inner drive to say, hey, I know I got more in me. Right. Yeah, and you're bang on, man. How many people, they look at rejection and they look like 5 kicks to the head this week? Me too. And it's like, most people would cower at that. They'd walk away and be like, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like,
but even if you're going to make the analogy to like being in shape and eating well and all that stuff, which is a perfect analogy for life and for business. It's like, how many times have you seen me go up and down?
For sure, man. Yeah.
Everyone celebrates the up, but like, what about the down? Like, what about the time when I was 35 pounds heavier 6 months ago? You know what I mean? And like, that's
learn from it, use it to make you better.
It's all about how you get up, and it's and if you're, and I'm not saying that it's not just about the physicality of it. It's about the health part of it. It's about, like you, like I have kids, I have a family. I want to be here. And I don't want, and even when it comes to whatever, like, I quit drinking alcohol. Not that I drank that much, but I made a commitment to myself. I said, you know what? I don't even want this in my life anymore. It's not a part, and I'm 7 months without a drink.
Nice,
and
man. Congrats.
I don't really know how that happened. It was more of just like a challenge that, if I can tell you how beneficial that's been for me, for my health and for my body, but even for my mind and for my business, a lot of the time when you're distracted with things like that, even if you don't think about it, okay, I have a beer at the Leaf game or whatever, it affects you the next day. And that, maybe I shouldn't say you, it affected me the next day. I can't speak for myself.
No, I understand.
I'm not a preacher, but now when it comes to the business part of this, which is what we're talking about in the mind share, it's like, whatever you have to be and do to be sharp as hell, you better do it if you want to be a top producer in any business. And it's like being sharp in your mind and being like committed to something. And I used to look at it all like you're talking about from how we started. My mindset is completely different.
Yeah, 1,000,000%, right? We've grown so much.
Before, it was all about just like, I want to go and I want to be this big shot, or I want to make the money and I want to make the sales. And I'm not saying I don't want all those things,
Yep.
but for me now, it's more about like, I want to do really well for myself and for my family. And I want to do well for my mom. I want to do well for Dave Greenspan. I want to do well for the people that have been in my corner. I want to do well for my wife and my kids. And it's not necessarily just the same things driving me anymore, but I feel more determined than ever right now to like, be a lion and to be in this business and to not, just to make sure that I take the best care of my clients and do the best job I can for the agents that are working alongside of us. And, it's so much more effective when it's coming from a good place, if that makes any sense.
It makes total sense, man. Mindset is everything. So curious then, what are some non-negotiables in your day that like we're talking daily?
On a work tip,
I'd say on both, man. Like if I gave you an example and I said to you, non-negotiables for me are like reviewing my goals in the morning, practicing gratitude, so writing my journal, spending some time with my children before I get my day started. Obviously some of the action steps of socials and emails and making my phone calls, my meetings. The gym is a non-negotiable for me. As you start spending through the day, there's a lot of like personal stuff that's non-negotiables, and of course, there's the actions we got to take to grow our business.
non-negotiables on the work tip right now are as I need to make sure that I'm reaching out to a minimum of 10 people a day, which sounds like it's not a lot, but it actually
are these new people, Mikey, or are these
no.
Okay, contacts?
These are contacts.
Okay, love it. Yeah.
Just even and I'm not reaching out to them and saying, hey, I got a great lead on a house and are you thinking about buying or selling your real estate? I'm reaching out to them and I'm saying, hey, just thinking about you, because I am just thinking about them. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean in regards to like it actually, coming from a good place where I really do want to know what's happening with these people. And when I realized over the last few years that the amount of people that I had sort of lost touch with, in a one way or another, just because you're always on to the next thing in real estate. It's like, okay, like there's only so many hours in the day. So what I really am focused on, and the discipline part of it for this is, I want to make sure that I'm reaching out to people on a daily basis. I want to make sure that I am, always checking in on a daily basis for the people that I have buying and selling, keeping them informed of what's happening. There's a lot of time in real estate, especially over these last couple of years, where you might not have the best news for all your, I'm a listing agent. There's times when I'm running 15, 20 listings at a time. And when I'm doing that and 15 or 20 of them are getting 2 showings a week, if I'm lucky, it's not an easy job, but you can't duck. You have to face it, and people appreciate it so much more for me to call them and say, hey, I don't really have much to talk about, but I'm not hiding. And I'm right here, and we're going to get through this, and one at a time, you get through it. And I think on the business end, and I'll get back to your question, I really do feel like we're coming out of this for the market. Like I feel like things are starting to progress in the right direction, obviously with the rate drops, and there's going to be a much more productive 2025, and it could start as early as like January.
I don't disagree with you, man.
I think the tap has been turned back on. But my must-dos for every single day, just to answer your question, 10,000 steps, dinner with my family. I always make sure to have dinner with my family. And the odd times that obviously because of our schedule as real estate agents, a lot of times showings are at that time. But if I can, I'm having dinner with my family. It's
for you, man.
That's an important thing for me. And because I found myself more lately with this discipline, it's not hard for me to do that because I'm getting most of my work done before noon. Right. Whereas before, I'd roll into the office at 10, and a lot of the time that was fine for me. But as things change, as soon as something starts, much like the same thing with drinking alcohol, as soon as something starts to not feel fine to you anymore, that's when I think you need to address it right away and nip it in the bud and just say, you know what, like this isn't how I want to be. I don't want to be a person who's not, in touch with the people who matter to me. I don't want to be a person who's missing dinner with my family. I go for those 10,000 steps every single day. That's part of like my health. I take my dogs for a walk. I have 3 dogs. I don't know if you know how many dogs I have these days, Dave, but I'm nuts. And it's just like spending time with my wife and my kids and the people that matter to me and working my ass off. Like, what else is there?
Yeah, no, listen, man. But it's funny because you bring up the dinner, you bring up the 10,000 steps, you bring up getting stuff done before noon, the phone calls, and I hear it often from people. It's like, oh, I just, I didn't have time to do the calls today, and I'm like, well, what were you doing?
You have time.
And oftentimes, yeah, that's what I say. It's like oftentimes, like if you aren't really having your schedule in check right now, like you're not paying attention to where you do spend your time versus where you don't spend your time, and you're prioritizing the wrong things.
For sure.
You know, and
But
then a
that's,
lot of times people will be like, "Oh, but I want more of this, I want more of that." But it's like you're not doing what you need to do to get more of that,
yeah.
right?
And I think that's a given for everybody. That's human nature. You know, it's not necessarily like a real estate guy thing. It's
But
just,
Mikey, what do you do though? Like let's say you say, okay, I'm gonna do those phone calls, I'm gonna do them daily. And I love the fact that you check in with the clients daily, like whether you got some good news or bad news or no news. They're you're there. They've hired you, like be there, right?
oh
Then
yeah.
it's like the clients that you want to call just to say what's up to. What happens if something comes up and for some reason you had to bump that till later in the day? Like, are there days where you're like, screw it, I'm not going to do the calls and I'll double down the next day? Are there days where
No,
you're like, there's like no way I'm not doing some calls? How do you
no. I
deal with
mean,
that?
I think that this is one of the times that having like every letter in the book, whether it's my OCD or my ADD or my ADHD, you pick the initials, you know, I got them,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
can tell you, like, that's something that for me, it's sorry, I'm adjusting this.
Yeah,
By the
yeah.
way, are these lights bugging you in the back
No,
optically?
we're
You
good.
want to get rid of
We're
them?
good, man. We're
These
good.
spotlights?
All good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's just something that, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a call, even like even you know, I don't want to you know I don't want to be 100% transparent. A lot of the time that I'm reaching out to people, like it might just be text too. It doesn't have to necessarily be like you can't say you're going to do you and then not do you. So a lot of the time,
Totally.
being me is sending somebody a quick message that just says, "Hey, checking in," or you know, just was just thinking about you guys. Wanted to know what ended up happening with, you know, did your kid make that team? And you know, because I want to know, did he make the team? That was the last conversation I had with them. You know, like that's like something I would say to you. You know,
For sure,
like
man.
what ended up happening with that property that you were looking at? Did you want me to look more into it, or is there anything, whatever it is? It's not just real estate based, and a lot of the time it could be nothing more than me just saying like, you know, was thinking about you guys, wanted to say hi and send love. And
So good.
I'm telling you, for agents out there, I've never had anybody, you know, like I'm talking door knocking aside, where sometimes people close the door in your face, but
Yep.
I've never had anybody that I've ever reached out to that I know that has been to me, that has said to me like, where do you get off calling to check in and say hi to me? It doesn't happen. People
What
are
do you mean
happy
you
to
want to know
hear.
how I'm doing?
People are happy to have somebody sincerely saying hi to them. People are happy to know that you didn't forget about them 5 years after the sale. And what ends up happening a lot of the time, and this is what's happened to me, so that's why I'm saying it, is that as time goes by, you're like, ah, shit, I didn't speak to that guy in a little while. Okay, I guess we're done. It doesn't have to be like that.
No.
You
Yes.
reach out to that person, and you're going to see a lot of the time, they're, you know, you can reconnect with somebody really easily, and it's such a simple and, you know, pleasurable part of the business. Actually, instead of it making it stressful, it's like the same thing as not paying your taxes. You don't pay your taxes in time, you're going to stress about it. But if you pay, you know, the installments monthly and you do that stuff, taxes don't. That's just weird, maybe a weird example, but that's something that used to stress me out a lot as somebody who pays a lot of taxes. I used to always get stressed, and it's just like the same thing. It's like consistency and you know, being proactive with things and being disciplined. Again, coming back to discipline, it makes my life personally so much more enjoyable, and it gives me, you know, like even my wife has been saying to me lately, like she'll say things all the time, like I'm waking up super early in the morning. Like I've never really been like that. I've never been the guy that wakes up at 6 a.m. I'm up at 6 a.m. now, man. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's
But
wicked.
you know, like I've already
I
walked
think it's these
probably.
white beards we're getting over here,
I
bro.
know, I
Holy
know,
jeez. I'm looking at
but
you, I'm looking at me, I'm like, wow.
I know, but we
If
look
these
great.
people, if everybody could see a picture of like the two of us from like 25 years ago, 30 years ago,
We look way worse.
I don't even know if we'd share those anymore right now.
Yeah.
But dude, on everything you're saying, like most of your business, and I'm going to take a stab and say I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Does most of your business come from people you know or people you don't know?
I would say it's probably 50-50. A
Really?
lot, yeah, man. A lot of my business is referral business.
Well,
So
for sure,
yes,
right? So the
that's the
referrals,
part.
though, I'm going to
That's
count those as people we
no,
know.
that's the people that I know. But I'm
Okay.
telling you, a lot of it also from, you know, many years of working a few pockets consistently. You know, via
Just growing.
osmosis of my open house sign
Beautiful,
sitting
bro.
on every corner every
Yep.
weekend while they take their kids to dance or they take their kids to hockey. They don't know me, but they'll, you know, that's the whole point of what you do and why you put in that consistent work on a weekly and yearly basis. So I would say maybe it's 60-40 people I know compared to people that I don't know. And I do generally get a lot of business from people that I don't know, but they know my brand.
Right.
Or, and that's where, marketing comes in, and just having a game plan. And, you have to have a game plan. And my game plan always from the day I started was just hustle. And the problem with hustle is that you burn out. And that's what I meant more in the sense of like how I run my business now in comparison to how I was when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s, I was working 16-hour days, and that. Yep. Like I was doing weekends where I was doing 6 open houses a weekend, and they weren't my listings. I was just doing them for people in my office, and going from this one from 11 to 1, and from this one from 2 to 4, and this one from 6 to 8, whatever the hell anybody would let me do. I put my signs out. I invested in those open house signs, man. I had to get my money out of them, and it's just like that part and that hustle, like in certain ways, I don't think you can teach that to people, but for those who have that hustle in them, you can really help them, guide that energy and that passion. And it coming back to having all those initials, it's one of those things that's good about having, ADHD and all that stuff, is that I got a lot of energy. And I find now at 46 years old, especially without like booze or whatever, my energy level is like, dude, I'll do push-ups right now. Like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. I'm so charged up to get to work every single day.
I think there's an element of being able to teach people what they have to do to be able to do the work. At the end of the day, they have to do the work. And so it is that innate thing inside of them of, do they have the energy? Do they have the drive? Do they have the grind, the discipline, and then to apply the consistency to actually do the hustle? Now, as we look at that, it's not, I mean, we can say, hey, work hard, work hard, work hard. You've brought up marketing a few times now, and some of the two things you do from open houses and the door knocking you've mentioned. What marketing channels are you leveraging? I guess let's start maybe on the repeat referral side. I'm going to go to the people like we know first, and then we'll move to the people we don't know. But as we talk about this, and again, it's getting inside the mind of a top producer and real estate broker with Michael Switzer. What marketing channels are you leveraging to drive repeat and referral business? You've already talked about the phone calls.
Yeah, I can say, and I'm sorry that, well, I guess I'm not sorry because I think you'll love it, but I can tell you, like, having a proper system in place where you are sending a monthly newsletter like kits, and I'll be transparent to say, I turned off my kits last year for about 4 months, 5 months. It was like, I was just like, I'm tired of this. I was, when my business was slowing down, like if you don't know, like the real estate industry in the GTA, like last year, it was like at some points cut 70%. At least, I don't know, maybe just me, but I had a big.
No, a lot of people have slowed down, man, for sure. People have had some good years, but like on the overall, we're
year
lower.
In particular,
for
like
sure.
The last year and a half, it's been like the for whatever reason, there's a bunch of factors, but so what you end up doing when in those situations is like just naturally you start like sort of think, oh, what should I be cutting the fat of this and cutting the fat of that? Like what should I be not spending money on? One of the biggest mistakes that I made last year, and I'm so happy that I turned it back on. And not only that, but I've also, like, if you look, Dave, I don't know if you have checked, but I've like quadrupled the amount of people that I'm sending it out to. So you'll love that too.
And that's sending out a newsletter.
Yeah.
That
I think is a really, really, really effective part of even if people are looking at it for 2 seconds and throwing it out, which I know it might be the case for a certain percentage, but a lot of people reach out and say, I love your newsletters. I read it every month. I read what you're sending me. And I'm like, yeah, I wrote that, but really, like, you wrote it.
Whatever,
but it's just like one of those things, or Kits wrote it, I should say.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, that's a big one for that. The next one, I would say, if people don't realize, then they need to really realize how important it is that we keep informed and up to date with technology. Social media, obviously, it's not that new of a thing, but social media marketing is a really important part of not just getting likes and all that stuff. I'm not the biggest social media guy. Obviously I'm on social media and I'm active on it, and a lot of people do think that I'm very to them, but I look at it and I say it's also just about how you're actually marketing the listings of the people that are paying you money to sell their properties. I think that's a big thing. Anytime that you're doing anything when it comes to whether you're doing an open house or in your marketing, I always like to think of whatever I'm doing as a job that for people, it's like basically like I'm going for an interview online. Marketing, I'm basically being interviewed with every single person that's seeing it on how I.
We just lost Mike. I'm sure he'll be right back. Again, technical stuff, but we're inside the mind of a top producer and real estate broker with especially because Michael Switzer, real estate broker with Forest Hill here in Vaughan, Ontario. Focus a lot on the Richmond Hill area and Toronto area. But we're having a really fantastic conversation around, again, what he's doing to grow his business. And it's not just about growing the business through marketing, but it's growing the business through mindset. So yeah, sorry, Mike, keep going there.
Yeah, I think that's a really important one. Sorry, man. I don't know why.
No, it's good, bro.
Things
happen.
There. I think that, yeah, that the social media,
hey, sorry, I'm going to pause you on social. Forgive me. I'm totally cutting you off in the middle of like my own question here. But from a social media perspective, how much emphasis do you put on that in a day? Like from a time perspective?
Honestly, I have somebody who I pay to do it.
Okay. So, do you go on at all? Do you sit there? Do you scroll it? Like, do you engage with other, like, is there a 30-minute window in your day that you do it at all? Or
yeah, I think that it's what I found to be, for me, it ends up being more of a distraction a lot of the time. It's like, there's certain things, coming back to scheduling, there's a lot of things where you can get into the wrong habits with real estate, and scrolling and whatever you want to call it, doom scrolling or whatever.
Yep.
That to me is something that I try to avoid, because it's like there's only so many hours in the day.
That's for real, man. How are you going to have time to have dinner with the family and go walk the dogs and everything else and work out when you're doing that? Right.
Instead, I feel like, that person, this person, that stuff, this guy's doing better. Like, that's the whole problem with social media, is that everyone's rich and everyone's got a six-pack and everyone's happy.
Totally. Yeah. See, okay. We're I could tell Mike's camera's frozen for a quick moment here. But again, see, there's the problem with social. And I talk about this often around the distractions of social media and, what it's really doing to us and what we're looking at others. I mean, if we're gauging ourselves based on likes and based on followers and based on, what we're garnering from social media, we're starting to just have that whole, like, FOMO, right? That is it fear of missing out? Is it looking at other people and thinking, oh my God, they have and I don't have? I mean, Mike, you bring up a great point about that, man.
Yeah.
It's just, it's always constantly looking at other people when it's like, again, back to what we said, blinders on.
Blinders on. And so the only time that I think I'm trying to pay more attention to it is really with the content that I'm putting out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say I don't look on social media. I do. I like to go and I like to check in on my friends. I like to support what they're doing. And generally, I'm just trying not to sit there watching videos of like people fighting and, Karen videos of ladies going crazy in stores. Like, that's the stuff that you can sit there and watch it and you're like, what am I wasting my time watching this stuff for,
Totally, dude. It's again, and then people say, but I didn't have enough time to make my phone calls. Right. And there's a big issue there. What about so I imagine that there's other stuff going on through email. Do you do client events? Do you send birthday cards, anniversary cards? Is there any of that stuff that you send out to people on a regular basis to extend on, the conversations that you're having by phone?
Sorry?
Email, client events, birthday cards, anniversary cards. Are you leveraging any of that stuff to kind of support the phone calls and the relationships? Yeah. Okay. A little bit of technical difficulty, but as you're sort of tuned in again, you're listening, you're going, okay, where are they at?
I don't know. I got a bad connection, Dave. I'm going to try
one thing I will continue to recommend to everybody is very much that, when you are making those phone calls, think about a support mechanism, right? Think about what can you do to support the message that you are putting across. So I was actually having a phone conversation with one of my coaching clients earlier today, and we were talking about birthday cards. And I have said this before, and I'll say it again. We've lost the art of wishing each other a happy birthday, wishing each other a happy home anniversary or a happy anniversary. We'll get people that write HBD in a Facebook post. I mean, come on, like, that's not heartfelt. There's no like, that was so nice. And quite frankly, when it comes to a birthday card a Facebook post, it's got no shelf life. But when we really talk about building mind share, and we know that mind share equals market share, one of the most important things we want to do is we want to build positive mind share. And one way that we build positive mind share, very much so, is by actually writing a handwritten birthday card, sending it to somebody, and making sure that that individual actually gets something from you that has, ink on paper. It's got blue ink. It's on paper. They get it in the mail. When they get it, they put it up on the mantle. And now it's not just a birthday, but it's a birth week. So, Mike, I was wondering there, like, do you send birthday cards, anniversary cards? Do you do that type of stuff?
Dave, you were so good at that, by the way, man. I cut out and you just handled it. I was like, I'm watching you. You can't see me. I don't know if you could, but I'm just like, wow, he's really going for it here. I appreciate that, man. I don't know. Sorry, I just moved into my car. I thought maybe I'm actually at a client's house. I have a showing at 2:00, so I just came and set up in their studio. I don't know why I had such bad reception. I do apologize.
No worries, man.
But yeah, no, I like birthday cards, stuff like that. I have that more so going through a different setup where we're doing now. I mean, I don't mind to share my secret, but we're doing now a new program where I'm sending everybody cookies. So expect cookies. Yes, if your clients expect cookies on your birthday. If I don't have your birthday, then
what if we're just like really good friends?
Yeah, you're getting cookies, man. Don't worry. All right. So,
okay, so here, let's do this now. We talk about the contact list, and you say that you've got sort of the 60-40 split. And again, I would say to, everybody tune in, understand this, that this is coming from 20 plus years of being in this business and spending the time and spending the money, and doing the hustle and really building up a farm. So, you do the phone calls. You send out the newsletters on a regular basis. I know there's emails that go out because I see them. The social media happening. There's certain time that's carved out, and there's a discipline around social media, which is really important. There's obviously a birthday wish, whatever channel that you leverage to send things out to people. Now let's talk to generating new opportunities, because you talk about the open house and the door knocking, which I absolutely love. And we sit here in 2024, about to move into 2025. And the reality is we're still talking about open house and door knocking like they work. And I would double that down right away and say they absolutely do work. So when it comes to generating new opportunities, new leads, as people in the industry refer to it as, what channels would we say are your big focuses? You said open houses, you said door knocking. Are you doing flyers?
Yeah, doing
postcards,
flyers,
whatever.
Flyers and postcards, but mainly for marketing my listings. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I've always been more about marketing. When it comes to marketing, I'm marketing my listings and my solds more than I'm marketing a big picture of me. So, bench ads, flyers, that stuff, I've always had that going consistently throughout the years. But now the next wave coming in, whether we realize it or not, coming back to the idea of like all of us having to change with the times, like AI technology coming in for real estate is going to be a huge thing. I'm sitting on a few different beta groups of some of these like amazing programs that are coming up, and it's pretty fantastic. The amount of connection that you can make. That I'm not a big fan of the ones where it's like they create like a new version of you and it's like a computer of you talking. But I think when it comes to the actual CRM part of it, like I know the CRM that we use for that via kits, like you do have some of that capacity already in there. But I just think that there's so much cool stuff coming up. So yeah, that part of it, I'm not the most tech savvy guy, but I've been kind of blown away with the things that I think are going to be common practice in our industry over the next 5 to 10 years. It's just a lot of this stuff is coming right now.
Okay. Now, I mean, is there anything specific to AI that you sort of put your finger on and say, hey, everybody's got to watch out for this?
I don't want to. I don't know if I'm. I signed things, so I can't be talking about. But yeah, there. Like I wish I could just actually. Maybe I should have brought it up. If I can't talk about it, I apologize. But there is some cool stuff. A lot of it is really just like CRM based stuff where you're going to be able to be connected with a lot of people in neighborhoods at the same time. So there's AI marketing that's going to be that you're going to be able to market to neighborhoods or communities, and not just communities where you live. Like, for example, I have a listing right now where a great deal of the amount of buyers are religious people coming from New York.
Okay.
So yes, I can hire my social media guy to market to New York right now to go and make sure that they see the listings that I have in that pocket that might work for their family that are moving here from New York. a lot of that technology is going to be based. I'm explaining it poorly. I'm sorry. This isn't my expertise, but a lot of that is going to be AI based marketing that I'm going to be able to have on a larger scale. That's going to go through my website.
Okay. So here, I do want to ask you
Yeah.
this, and I'll move off the AI thing because I can appreciate where you're coming from on maybe things you've seen or heard or partaking in.
I don't understand it enough, obviously.
No, listen, but I'll tell you this though. Okay, on that note, very quickly, when we did our mastermind about a month ago, 2 months ago, month and a half ago now in Toronto, and I brought in some AI experts, some folks that have worked out on some major stuff. And I said, break this down for us, okay? And the reality is, AI is still very, very infancy. It's in an infancy stage. We don't truly know where it's going to be going. We had no idea where the cell phone would evolve to a smartphone.
Yeah.
Okay. And now the power of the smartphone, which I think is a complete distraction in our world, and we've got to somehow go back to cell phones, but that's a different conversation. You know, the point is, we don't know yet where the AI is ultimately going to go, but there's some wonderful things you can do with it. And the big takeaway that we had on that was leverage it as your co-pilot. Don't make it the driver of everything you do. Don't get lost in trying to keep up with it or figure all of it out. It's still very young. There's a lot more coming. It will become a hell of a lot clearer. Who knew how to use the smartphone when the first smartphone came out? You know what I'm saying? Like it was one of those things you needed to learn. You needed to pick up on. You needed to understand how to integrate into your world. And eventually it happened. But now, as Mike, as we do talk about the tech, okay, and again, this conversation around artificial intelligence, this conversation around technology in of itself, the conversation around, you know, generating new opportunities. Do we believe, you know, paying for online leads is the way to drive our business? Do we believe that we've got to go out there and find people through real in-person methods? You know, there's a big world of people out there right now that believe that online lead generation is going to be the big answer, the big solution to everything they're doing in this business. And look, I would go out on a limb again and say, you know, from an online lead perspective, online leads are to me, they're not the most fruitful. They're not the lowest hanging fruit you could possibly have. So I'm curious, do you believe in paying for online leads? What's your take on the whole lead gen idea, you know, in this game? You know,
I believe like I've tried all that stuff. I've been down that road. I definitely am not the guy who's a big, who's a big promoter of online leads. I know some people who work that route and really like, it's the same thing. If you want to go and call a bunch of people, I personally believe from my experience that the online leads that I've had have 99% of them are bad leads. Yeah. So, you know, you're a lot of the time you end up calling people and they're like, well, why are you calling me? How'd you get my number? It's like, you're so much better off just choosing a pocket that you want to work in and going and knocking on those doors. It's a little bit tougher to say that when we live in Canada, because obviously it's cold and it's hard to go knocking. And I don't want to pretend I knock all the time, but I will say the best results come from zeroing in on one specific pocket. It's not rocket science here, you know, zeroing in on
dude, but people overcomplicate the shit out of it, don't they?
But that's exactly it. It's like, just try coming back to how I started this by talking about like how, you know, generally, like I'm just trying to avoid all the noise in this industry, and there's so much noise. You don't need it. If you have a really basic system in place, the systems part of it, I think, is what's missing the most for real estate agents. Like, we don't really have a system in place. And if you look at any like top CEO from, you know, whether it's like someone who's running Disney or someone who's running, you know, a restaurant chain, they have a system in place. They'll have 2 or 3 general, you know, specific goals in mind, not 20 different goals in mind, 2 or 3 specific goals in mind, where you're going to say, okay, this is what we're working towards as a team. These are the action steps that we're going to use on a daily basis in order to achieve our goals. Here is our individual goals and tasks that we break up. And this doesn't have to be within a team. It could be even for yourself, for you to say, okay, this is what we're going to be. This is what I have to do. This is my plan. These are the top 3 to 5 things that I have to do on a daily, weekly, yearly basis. And these are the things I need to focus on. If you do that, you'll be successful significantly more often than not, in my opinion, because it's now, you can't, if you're trying to be the master of all things and trying to be the number one guy on social media and the number one guy in the neighborhood and the number one person in this and the girl who's always there to answer this, you're going to burn out. And a lot of the time it's like, you if you want to be successful in real estate, you have to be in front of people. It's not a business of like coming back to leads and online stuff. Like, sure, it's all great, but nothing is going to replace sitting in front of a couple at a table talking to them about their house. And coming back to AI isn't going to replace, I hope not, at least, or else we're all screwed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but that's on that. Hey, that's on us too, though, right? That's on us. Like, if we sit there and continue to embrace it and put it in between us and the clients at all times, at some point, clients go, "What do I need you for?"
I think AI is going to be something that if we use it properly, it's going to be an extremely helpful tool for us as a society.
Yep.
There's no question. I think if you look at AI as something that we can work together as a collaboration and as another tool of, and you know what, we already are. I mean, I think that it's something that's going to be there, and it's just going to get more effective as technology with it improves. But it's certain.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Now, I will say this. I love Mikey. When you are doing a live, get yourself a nice, good internet connection. Don't worry about those phones. Leave the phones alone, right? They're smart, but they're not that smart. They cause problems.
I don't know what's going on.
Problem.
I got my thing. My thing says I'm at full. I don't know.
Smartphones, man. Smartphones.
Yeah,
so tell me this. Let me ask you this. From a farm perspective, because again, when we look at the fact that you have grown a very successful farm, and I do see the benches, and I know the flyers go out, I know the door knocking happens, I know, again, you got the open houses happening, and this is the grind. This is the stuff that most people don't want to do. So just as an aside, a big congrats to you for actually fucking doing it, right? But what's it take when we talk about, be successful at the farm, about, invest in the time to do it, about the mindset that agents need to have when it comes to generating new opportunities? Like, I'm scared that they're going to say no, or I don't know what to say at the door. How much time did it take to even grow the farm? Like, am I right if I said like something 1 to 3 years at least?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've seen people come into this business and they've managed to get successful and establish themselves in a neighborhood really quickly. And I would say on average, probably 3 to 5 years if you're really doing it properly. I've had some really good mentors in this business, like from coming in, and that's generally the idea that I've gotten from. And these guys are, the top dogs in the industry, and they still are, for that matter. And also, I think clients of yours and of Kit's, and I look at this and I think that what I can also say is that it doesn't take as much time for optically to become one of the players in a neighborhood. And I think that 1 sign, 2 sign, 3 sign, and all of a sudden you could find yourself in a position where you become another one of those people who people in the neighborhood are going to think of as one of the hubs of the community, one of the people who knows the community, one of the people who they know has information about this, and not only that, but somebody who sells real estate, which I think is the biggest thing. So it all comes down to your mindset of what you're going to do and about what you're willing to accept of yourself, and how much of an effort and energy you're going to do on a consistent basis, because this can't be the kind of thing where you just put it in for you put in the time and you work hard for 6 months and then you sit back for 6 months. It doesn't work like that. And that comes back once again to the idea of the monthly flyers, the monthly newsletters, the consistency of your branding on signs and on social media. There's no one thing that I think is it's a collaborative effort of all of these things, and they're all, just like AI, a collaborative tool that's going to help it make it easier for you when you do the most important thing, which is when you meet them in person. And that's the reality. Like, there's no part of me that is relying on any of these things as this is my go-to thing.
Right.
There's things that I've learned are must-haves, like I said before about the newsletters, but I really do believe that meeting with people and being in a position where you can show them your character and your energy. Like, people are attracted to your energy. People are attracted to your knowledge. People want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that you're competent, incompetent. They want
Yeah. You see, These are you absolutely though, right? These all great points. Now, and it's funny because you are your main tool, right? Like outside of all those other like all those support, and that's one thing I was saying a few moments ago. All those support. Now, what happens when shit hits the fan? What happens when it hits the fan, either with a deal or your overall day to day, or the market's just real slow? How do you overcome a negative mindset? And Mikey, I think you shared this off the top of the show today, almost around discipline. But as we start to taper off and close out today, what would you say for anybody just when shit hits the fan? How do you deal with it? What can they do to overcome that? Can you hear me there? All right. Mike is having these technical difficulties. What we're going to do is we're going to start to close this out for him.
I can answer that last question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it.
Well, you asked me again because I only heard half of it.
Well, the shit. When shit hits the fan, though, how are you dealing with it in a day? Because it could be a deal, it could just be a shitty day, it could be a down market. From a mindset perspective, there's something there that how do you get past that stuff?
I thought that's what you were asking me, and I'm happy to close on that because I think that's exactly where.
I got one more for you before you go because this is an important one. But
but I will say, like, that's something that I think is it really comes back to, the part about discipline isn't just about discipline to make money. It's not just about discipline to get in shape. It's about discipline so that your own self-worth, and that you understand that even when things aren't going well, that's also part of the process. Like, being successful, whether people want to pretend or not, it's all about the failure. Like, the failure part of it is such a big part. And I used to fight that so hard. I used to just be so down on myself, but I'm realizing it's not failure. It's part of the business. You can look at any single person from Da Vinci to Steve Jobs. And if you look at what they have, it's 90% failure.
Phil Knight, Elon Musk, they can all talk to you about failure.
Yep. They don't, and especially you want to do real estate. And I'm not saying I'm fluff, man. I'm not I appreciate it. Sure. A producer, all that stuff. It's all bullshit. What matters is your family, your happiness, your health. And at the end of the day, I'm not looking back and thinking like, wow, I'm the number one producer at Forest Hill Real Estate. You know what I mean? And it's great. Okay. It's great to be there. It's great to be there, but this is not. So what I would say, and I don't want to Oprah out too hard or become too much of a hit, but I'm telling you right now, like, to answer that question, meditation, exercise, and discipline. That's what I mean with discipline as well. Like, I've really been focused on taking time to breathe, taking time to stretch, taking time to get strong.
Dude, I got a gratitude journal right here. I write in every single day.
Read it to all of us.
Mikey, yeah, okay. Go back 25 years ago. Was I writing in a gratitude journal?
Nice.
You know what I mean? So listen, you talk about the end of the day, you talk about, all that. What I want to know from you is now, you've gone through a day, whether it's been good, it's been bad, ups and downs, shit happens. At the end of your day, you're done. You've gone home. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
It's a good question. I would say, is my wife mad at me? Is that a good one? Yeah. I mean, I think that I know that it's been a successful day if I know that I've done all of the things that I can do, and that it like if I've gone through all of the things that I can do, if I've been like on a day like today, like for example, like I'm meeting with you, this is fantastic. I'm so sorry, by the way, of the cutting out and out. You've been a champ.
Oh, good, bro.
I can't control it, but I will say, like, from this moment on, I'm sitting in front of a house, one of my listings. I'm going to do a listing. I mean, I'm going to do a showing right now. I have another showing at 3:15 at a different property. I have another showing at 4:30 at a different property. I have a showing at 6, a showing at 8. Today's a good day. Does that mean that all that happened from today? Absolutely not. I've been working my ass off to make today happen. Right? So it's like the good day is the day that that you've put in everything and that you've done your best. Some days you got energy, some days you don't. Some days it's like, some days you feel great, some days you feel like shit. It's life. But I will say, as long as for me personally, as long as I know that I'm doing my best and that I've lived an honest day and I've worked hard and I put in my time, then it's a good day.
Dude, it's funny. We ask that question at the end of the show all the time. Nobody ever brings up the word money.
Yeah, it's not about money.
It's see,
true.
amazing, bro.
That's,
Dude,
that's
any final words of wisdom you want to share just before we sign off today?
make money.
Yeah.
Any final words? Yeah, I mean, just do your thing. Just work hard. Don't worry about judgment of others. Don't focus your energy on growth and about positive energy, and just enjoy your life, because it's like, I mean, for me, if that's the words, if I'm almost talking to, like, if you're assuming that I'm talking to like a newer agent or someone coming into this business, which I talk to all the time, because obviously we're hiring agents, and I haven't really plugged our office that much, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we have one of the fastest growing luxury boutique real estate offices in the country.
Amazing.
And Forest Legacy offices, we're 3 locations, we're growing like in a fantastic way. And a lot of what it is exactly the stuff that I'm talking about. It's happening organically. We're not big recruiters, like how our industry is. There's people in here. We're not doing that stuff. So a lot of what's happening is that the people that are attracting to us are people that are coming to us from other good people who are already working with us. So we're getting just like a really good crew of people. I love what we're doing. And it's just one of these things that I would say, if for all these people that are coming into this business, or if you've been in the business for 30 years, all you can do is your best and stay positive and just keep working. Put in your time. That's all you can do.
Love that.
Yeah.
Bro.
Connect with people.
Mikey, speaking of, where can people connect with you if they want to?
Oh, here's where I cut out again.
No.
Really?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Am I still here?
Yeah, I don't know. I can hear you. I can see you. This is unlike before, where like all of a sudden
I don't know if you can hear me.
Disappear. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? No. All right. Well, I'll tell you all. You want to connect with Mike? You find him on Instagram, Michael Switzer. If you want to tap into and learn more about what he's up to, visit the office at Forest Hill, Vaughan. But again, Michael Switzer on Instagram. Mike, I was going to say
Instagram, social media stuff. Switzer Homes, switzerhomes.com. We have an office in Midtown Toronto, Bathurst and St. Clair. We have an office in Vaughan. We have an office in Aurora. I'm pretty easy to find.
So good, bro. So good, dude, buddy. This has been awesome. Some wicked insights. Thank you. Love the positivity. Love all this sharing about the what you're doing to build the mind share out there. Michael Switzer, an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Again, absolutely amazing. Now, for everybody that is tuned in, maybe you're listening on one of your favorite podcast platforms. Maybe you went to my website, mindshow101.com. While you're there, be sure to learn more about our one-to-one coaching, group training, and keynote speaking. Of course, download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more mind share to get more market share. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Don't forget, please leave a review of this podcast at Rate This Podcast /Mindshare 101. So again, it's ratethispodcast.com /Mindshare 101. And if we haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook and on TikTok at Mindshare 101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems and Ram Magazine for sponsoring this show. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.